welcome back to another episode of JR Takes. As always, Ryan and I, per usual, coming at you with some Seattle sports news. And Ryan, a little bit of what we expected last Sunday against Buckle Up and Gang. But
yeah, I feel like we did what we needed to do and nothing more. I think I predicted.
That's a good way of putting it.
I think I predicted we were going to blow them out, and we really should have. I mean, you take away some of the just boneheaded mistakes that Geno made and DJ Dallas fumbling the ball, and this is probably a 3-score win on our half. The red zone issues are kind of starting to frustrate me a little bit, that we haven't been able to score better. So I think that's got to go on Shane Waldron to do a better job. But the fact of the matter is the defense gave the Cardinals basically no chance to win this game. I mean, even when we were up 14-10, I was like, this is over.
Yeah.
Like, they're just not going to be able to score again unless we throw a pick six. They just could not move the ball. And we get out of the game just looking back at it saying, yeah, we missed some opportunities, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of, I don't know if you remember this game, but it was 2014 and we were playing the Raiders during Derek Carr's rookie year. And the Seahawks were just super injured that game and ended up winning by like 1 score or like 10 points, similar sort of manner.
I do remember that game, yeah.
Where, yeah, it was like a bad Raiders team and we beat them, but you didn't really feel good about it. But when you're as beat up as the Seahawks were this last week, you know, where you're playing your 5th different offensive line combination of starters in 6 games, I mean, that would sink most teams. Look at the Giants. Look at some other teams around the league. I mean, our division rival, the 49ers, they were just down 1 starter in Trent Williams, and they lose to the fucking Vikings, which we'll get more on that later.
Yeah,
that was a huge result. But
you're definitely right there about the offensive line. I feel like maybe they were playing, well, not maybe, they were playing above expectations, playing better than we expected them to, and I think finally they came back down to earth a little bit, and but I don't know. I'm waiting to see when our line is healthy again. I feel like that is maybe the best position group on the team outside of corner.
Well, and one thing that has not really been brought up too much because it hasn't materialized yet is we have Jason Peters coming into the lineup eventually. And yeah, he's in his 40s. He's not the player that he once was, but I still would probably take an aging Jason Peters over a guy like Stone or Jake Curhan. No offense to those players, but I mean, this is a Hall of Fame offensive lineman we're talking about.
Where did Peters play for most of his career?
Man, it's hard to remember because it's been so long. Like the guy's from like the 2003 NFL draft or something like that, or maybe even further back than that. I'm not sure.
That makes sense. Yeah.
He was on the Cowboys last year. He was on the Eagles for a long time. It's hard to remember. He's been on because he signed like one of the first mega deals I had seen for an offensive lineman back in like 2010. And I remember that was big news. So the guy's been around. But he played relatively well for the Cowboys just a year ago. So he's hopefully has something left in the tank. And if nothing else, it's good depth. But yeah, we're going to get Evan Brown back in the lineup this week, and Damian Lewis is back. Not sure on Phil Haynes, but this last week against the Cardinals, we had a rookie center and a rookie guard with a 5th-round draft pick at right tackle that normally plays left tackle. We had, Charles Cross was back in. I guess he's a regular starter. So him and the left side of the line was in starter shape. But from center to right tackle, it was a complete, mismatch of rookies and late draft picks.
And it's frustrating too because I just want there to be a game finally where both offense and defense can click and be in sync with one another. Yeah. Because I feel like we will blow teams out if that is the case.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's bound to happen eventually here. And I think we were close to it this last game. But, man, you got to be thankful that the defense has come alive the way it has, because we could be 2-4 easily right now if it hadn't.
I think this is the best defense since the probably the 2014 season. You could argue 2015, but that was the that was the downturn of the defense.
That
I would
defense
say.
was still absolutely lethal, but they had a clutch problem in 2015.
Yeah, remember all those games we lost in the fourth quarter when we had like a 10 or 12 point lead?
I still blame Kerry Williams for about 80%.
Oh, I forgot about him. He sucked.
Yeah, he was awful. Good times.
Yeah.
But we, showed buckle up the business and took care of it against the Cardinals, and we're exactly where we want to be. It's a shame we didn't beat the Bengals because we'd really be in a good spot right now. But the gimme games on our schedule, so to speak, are over from here on out. There's not a single game I'm looking at where I say, oh, that's an easy win from here till when the season
I think we should beat the Browns. I think that they're kind of overrated. They should have lost to the Colts last week.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. They have one of the worst offenses in the league. They're down to P.J. Walker at quarterback, and their regular starter, Deshaun Watson, has not even played well at all when he's been in. Nick Chubb out for the year, and then their backup Jerome Ford, I believe is his name. He's not going to play this week.
Oh, he's not?
Yeah, and Kareem Hunt is banged up as well.
Who's going to play running back for them?
I don't know. Are they going to get Leonard Fournette off the street?
That would,
pull the cheeseburger.
Your funeral if you want to grab him. But
pull the cheeseburger out of his mouth and make him run the ball. Yeah, I don't know. That offense is really, really, lacking of top-end players. But they do have Amari Cooper. I can't think of another dangerous weapon on their offense. Like Donovan Peoples-Jones isn't really going to get a lot of people fearful.
Yeah, well, and I look at it like, okay, the Seahawks offense versus the Browns defense. I would take that over the Browns offense over the Seahawks defense. You know what I mean? I feel like we've got the better overall personnel on both sides of the ball.
My thing is, if our offense plays the way it did last week against the Browns this next week, we're going to win the game like 10-3. Because this Browns defense is possibly the toughest unit we're going to face all year. Myles Garrett is playing like a man possessed. He is probably the front runner right now for Defensive Player of the Year. He almost single-handedly won the game against the Colts last week. Blocking a field goal, getting I don't know how many sacks, and just really impacting the game. And if you look at the advanced metrics, he's winning his pass rush reps at an elite level. I think the only guy that's doing it at a higher clip is Max Crosby. That guy makes no sense how he's so good. But they have playmakers all over the field on defense, and it's gonna be tough moving the ball. I mean, even getting to 350 yards of offense against them this week will be a win. In my opinion.
Is Charbonnet gonna be healthy?
I'm not sure, but a guy who is practicing this week, little Kenny McIntosh.
Oh, really?
Back on the field, yeah.
Good to have Kenny back. He's been out since week 1 of the preseason?
Yeah.
Damn.
He didn't even get any because he hurt himself in the mock game before the preseason. So it's been like almost 3 months.
Damn.
Which is funny because Pete Carroll was like, yeah, he got banged up a little bit. He'll be out a couple of weeks. Here we are, like 12 weeks later. Classic Pete Carroll injury report.
Yeah.
But not sure about Zach Charbonnet's status for this game. I don't know if he practiced today, but if he can't go, having Kenny back in the lineup will really help take the load off of the other Kenny, K9, because he's been having a phenomenal season, but we don't want to be giving him 26 carries every game like we did this last weekend.
I think that's why, in my opinion, that's why he's played so well, is because we've been using him. We haven't been giving him too much workload, Yeah. And that's why he's kind of, I would imagine, stayed healthy since coming off of that injury.
I think the sweet spot for Kenneth Walker is like 16 carries a game because he can get 100 on 16 carries. He's that explosive. The run blocking has not been there for the last 4 weeks though. It's been tough whenever we're in a obvious running situation the last few weeks. So hopefully we can get that cleaned up a little bit, but it's not getting any easier this week. This is going to be a true test for our offense. However, Pete Carroll tends to really coach us up when we're going against a tough opponent. So I just hope we don't take them lightly because they're playing a backup quarterback. That's my only fear for this game.
And I want to see a good game from Geno.
I do
want
too.
to see a bounce back Geno Smith game. I'm predicting that he does have a good game, and he is borderline the reason we win the game.
You know, with Geno, he's been playing in a lot of ways better than he did for much of last year, but he's been having a couple of mistakes a game that just
outshine his performance.
Yeah, exactly. Because the mistakes are so frustrating because they're at the worst times, like in the red zone, on third down, in places where you can't be taking sacks or throwing picks. He's been doing that, and that's a little uncharacteristic for him, but it's not really, if the whole body of work he's been putting out there has been quite good this season. Especially, like, think of the throw to Noah Fant he had against the Cardinals last week. That was a fucking dime. You'll only see a handful of quarterbacks in the league even attempt a throw like that. So Geno has that top tier arm talent in this league, but yeah, his decision making and just overall seeing the field and seeing who's open last few weeks, it's been a little iffy at times. So I hope he needs to clean that up this week.
Yeah, I would agree with you, and I don't know. When I see Geno though, I'm not seeing like Zach Wilson mistakes or Geno is a smart quarterback, and he knows how to play the position well. So I think that's kind of why I'm expecting him to have this bounce back game, is because he had a great season last year, and he doesn't even look like the same quarterback. I know we've said it 1,000 times, but the quarterback he was in New York, he's just not even that guy anymore.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm confident going into this weekend, and I especially after watching last week's game, some of the throws I saw PJ make, we will intercept those balls, and we will take advantage and force turnovers against a quarterback like that.
It's going to take PJ Walker to play the best game he's ever played of football at any level to win, because our secondary is lethal, and the pass rush has come alive. The run defense is tops in the league. He's down a bunch of running backs. It's going to be really hard on him, and he has not played well. I think according to PFF, he's actually the 35th ranked quarterback out of 35 quarterbacks that they've ranked.
What? That's
yeah. Keep in mind, there's only 32 teams, so.
What happened to Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Is he just cut?
He's on the team, but he's just not ready for live action against starters, and that was clear in the game that he played, which is unfortunate because he really lit it up in the preseason. But that goes to show.
So weird, because you have a guy like Bajent come in and just like
throw for like 80% completion percentage.
Yeah, he looked
so random.
I don't know.
The NFL makes no sense, man. That's all I've learned. This has been the most chaotic season I can remember, where there's like no consistency week to week. Like, players that you expect to do great have shitty games, and then the opposite of that happens. And
yeah, I feel like because we grew up with like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, like the NFL was so consistent. Like those were the two good teams in the AFC. Everyone else kind of was a crapshoot. But now it's like, you have Mahomes, but I don't know. I'm not sold on them winning the Super Bowl again this year.
Yeah, what's weird about the Chiefs this year is I honestly think their defense has looked a lot better than their offense on the whole. Like, that defense that they're fielding is a championship defense, which could carry Mahomes through a not-so-great season.
And they've got Spags over there coaching them up, so that's also kind of
that guy is ancient.
That I know. He looks the same though.
Yeah, like, it's weird.
Yeah.
Some guys hit like 46 and then look that way till they're 70. It's really strange.
Yeah.
But the Browns, I say it's going to be a tough test, but I think we pull this one out 17-9.
That's a good. I like that score. Winning by 8 points. Maybe they get the ball late in the game. We run it a couple times. They use up all their timeouts. Get the ball left with like a minute 14 and then just throw an interception and the game ends.
I like that. I could go
I'm
for
gonna
that.
say 17-9 also.
All right.
But specifically, that's how it's gonna end, is with a pick.
Going even deeper. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. A couple little bits of news throughout the week. I guess let's get the bad news out of the way. Uchenna Nwosu out for the season with the torn pec muscle.
I was not sure if it was a torn.
Yeah, it's crazy because after the game, they just, it seemed like a pretty mild thing, but then they go in there and do the MRI, and turns out it's something that requires surgery. And he said today he's going to try to get back for the playoffs if we make it, which we'll get to this in a bit later. It's looking very good for our odds to make the playoffs as long as we, win games. But anyways, yeah, hopefully he can make it back. But in response to that unfortunate news, we made a little signing today in bringing back former Seahawk Frank Clark on the edge. What do you think?
I love the move. I know you said earlier today you wanted Chase Young or us to make a move to go after him, but I like Frank Clark better because Frank Clark has, even though we're playing 3-4 now as opposed to 4-3 back when we had him, he knows Pete Carroll and he knows the system well and they know him.
Well, Pete knows how to get. I mean, look at what Jerron Reed did his last year with us and is doing with us again this year. And look what he did in between on other teams.
Yeah, it's not a secret that Pete brings out the best in his players. And the Frank Clark signing, I think there's no one better to put on our defensive line than him.
I think as far as guys on the street that weren't, that were free agents, totally agree. In fact, when he got cut from the Broncos, I was I don't know if I brought it up on the podcast, but I was hoping that
I didn't even know he got cut. So
yeah, it was not a huge storyline that was all over the news or anything like that. But yeah, I think he asked to be released actually because they just weren't playing him very much, and they also didn't they trade
Randy Gregory?
Yeah, to the 49ers. I don't know what the fuck the Broncos are doing.
They must just be in all full send, we want Caleb Williams mode.
Yeah.
Which they probably will get him because they suck.
It's funny, though, because they just beat the Packers. So
yeah, the Packers are so bad.
They look terrible. Yeah. And I guess now let's just... I think that pretty much covers the main news that happened so far this week. But let's talk about the landscape of the NFC playoff picture right now. Because, dude, this conference sucks. There's a lot of bad teams in the NFC this year.
Yeah, the Lions lost. That was embarrassing.
Oof.
And they are not for real.
I'm kind of worried about that Ravens game. I've always looked at that with a little bit of caution, but... their defense combined with Lamar Jackson playing the way he has been, that's going to be a very tough outing.
Yeah, it's going to be annoying for sure. And the Ravens they are always just they are going to play you tough. Yeah. No matter who they're going up against.
It's funny how that Ravens-Steelers dynamic of really good, tough defenses and, just that vibe of, you're playing the Steelers or you're playing the Ravens, this is going to be a tough game. Mm-hmm. That has persisted for 14, 15 years. I kind of different coaching regimes, quarterbacks, players.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like we're sort of getting that identity with Pete. We have that. I don't know if it's a target, but I just feel like remember in the past when we would play really tough games and we'd be like, why is this shit team playing it's like this is their Super Bowl. They're trying so fucking hard to beat us and it's just a random exhibition against the Commanders or something like that.
Yeah, that has always kind of been a thing for Seattle. Ever since we got really good, I feel like teams have been giving us their best shot because we have that target on our back for whatever reason.
And I feel like it's sort of a similar vibe to the Ravens and the Steelers when you play us. It's this is going to be probably I mean, I guess you can't really say that in years past about our defense being tough, but now I feel that way.
Yeah, we are bringing some elements of the Boom back. Quick aside, I finished the Season of Boom documentary.
Where is it?
It's just all on the Seahawks YouTube channel. But
okay.
If any Seahawks fan that lived through that experience, man, it almost makes you emotional watching that.
Yeah, I'm excited to check that out. I saw the first episode, but
it's really great. And then it's like you just watched season 6 of Game of Thrones, and you're like, oh, that was awesome. And then you think about what happens
after,
the next year.
And then it's that's a good comparison. Game of Thrones correlates to the Seahawks 2013-2014 season.
Yeah,
very well.
That's how I felt about it. But anywho, we are definitely reestablishing that dominant identity on defense, and I'm really enjoying it. Devin Witherspoon right now
he's like leading the charge.
Yeah.
He
awesome. Looks like the best player on our defense, and it's like his 5th game. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's so weird. And he's like, what, 180?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
He just sent Rondale Moore like flying through the air on that hit.
Yeah,
that was one of the biggest hits I've seen in years.
Legal, which was so cool.
Yeah.
Well, and the craziest thing is, like, I didn't have a single spreadsheet telling me that was going to happen.
Sorry, Austin. Yeah, so we are definitely finding that identity on defense. I'm curious to see how we hold up in the run game without Uchenna, because he was setting the edge.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't really getting that many sacks so far this year, but he was one of our top players in run defense, and that's a huge weakness of Darrell Taylor. So I'm hoping that, we play Derek Hall a lot more, and that he is able to set the edge better than Darrell Taylor, or Frank Clark can, or something, because if teams realize that that's a weakness on our defense, they're going to exploit it, and they're going to run at wherever Darrell Taylor is all the time, and it's going to suck.
Yeah, but I don't know. You think losing one guy is going to make our defense crumble?
I don't think it's going to make it crumble, but like, we are the best run defense in the league right now.
Yeah.
I'm saying the Uchenna injury could perhaps sink us to like
cause a little bit of a setback,
best or 6th best. You know what I mean?
It's fair.
But it remains to be seen what the impact of that is going to be. But looking at the dynamic of the NFC right now, I feel like the Rams and the Vikings look like the other 2 teams that are going to make the wild card spot. Unless we win the division.
Well, and I don't know if you've seen the Vikings' upcoming schedule. They play like horrible teams for the next like 6 weeks.
Yeah. And they just, I mean, with a little better execution, they could have beat that 49ers team by 2 scores.
Yeah.
You know, Kirk just barely misses Addison for another touchdown. I don't know if you saw that play.
Oh, I watched the whole goddamn game.
I watched half of it like while I was at the gym, and I was kind of like freaking out at plays in public, but I'm like, I don't care. This is exciting. Anywho, the 49ers have dropped 2 in a row. Brock Purdy is going to miss this next game because he's in concussion protocol. Wow. He got a concussion on that quarterback sneak, and just they didn't catch it during the game. Mm-hmm. So Sammy Darnold, Mr. Seeing Ghost Sam Darnold is going to be out there. And hey, if he performs just as well as Brock Purdy, the plus side of that is it will help my narrative that Brock Purdy sucks. But, I mean, honestly, I don't really care about that. I want them to play bad so the 49ers lose. But you look at that 49ers schedule. They're playing the Bengals this weekend. They play some tough teams in the coming weeks. They're starting to lose the injury luck that they've been having. And, I mean, they looked unbeatable and, like, runaway NFC West champs a few weeks ago. And now I'm like, we're only a half game out of this thing.
It is funny how, like, the injury bug always comes home to roost.
Yeah, it's like the Grim Reapers always coming to, like, each team's door.
I know, because we were just talking about 2 weeks ago before the Browns game how they were, like, how are they getting this lucky with no one getting hurt?
Yeah.
And now it's like 3 of their star players are gone. Number 1 is Brock Purdy.
Yeah, and then so you had the Buccaneers losing to the Falcons. The Falcons might make the playoffs this year. If we're a wild card team, and let's say we're the 5th seed, we would play the 4th seed, which would be a team like the Falcons. That is almost like a first-round bye. We would fuck them up because the only strength they have is their run game. That's what our defense is elite, is the best at. Desmond Ridder is awful. He is terrible. Mm-hmm. So, and their defense isn't very good. So I'm
really glad we did not draft Desmond Ridder.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Seattle fans wanted us to.
I thought he might have a little bit of something, but I did not like the way he threw the ball. Mm-hmm. I know that sounds weird, like a weird critique of someone, but his throwing motion just was kind of gross to me.
Yeah.
I didn't really like it. And that has proven to be a factor because he's been pretty inaccurate in the league. But, yeah, we had the Packers losing, the Saints lost to the Jaguars, the Rams lose to the Steelers on a horrible call, which normally I would take that opportunity to talk shit about the refs, but I'm praising the refs because fuck the Rams.
The Steelers are so fucking weird.
Yeah, they're the grossest 4-2 team I've ever seen.
It's just like, are you guys good or not? Why are you beating good teams?
Yeah, and didn't they start like 11-0 a few years ago, and then just like completely collapse because they were never good? Yeah, that was the
game that Ben Roethlisberger lost, and then he was just sitting on the bench like.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's just Tomlin is like a great coach or you know, TJ Watt is a great player. It's probably both of those things, but that team isn't good. You can't convince me that Steelers team is going to go anywhere in the playoffs.
I don't understand why they're not good, though, because their offense, they have a lot of talented players. They're just, all of them suck.
I think Kenny Pickett is like one of the worst starting quarterbacks. I think he's in the same tier as Desmond Ridder from what I've watched.
Yeah, I haven't, to be honest, watched too much of Pickett. The only game I did watch of his was that Ravens game. That was like the worst game of the year.
Oh, yeah. That was an ugly fucking game.
Yeah.
But yeah, what else happened this weekend? Because basically every NFC team that we wanted to lose lost.
Yeah.
So we are in the driver's seat for this thing. If we win, like, I don't know, let's just say for the rest of the year we got what? 11 games less. Even if we go 6-5, we're making the playoffs.
Yeah,
I can almost guarantee it. So I don't know. This season, I guess the reason why I wanted us to get Chase Young is just because, yeah, he's going to cost an asset, but the conference is so weak, you have a good chance to go for it this year. But I do like that we didn't overextend ourselves and just kind of did the safer thing and got Frank Clark.
Yeah. I like I said, I liked that move because of the fact that we didn't have to give anything up, and I didn't even know he was available. So, like, that's awesome that we didn't have to trade for him, and kind of cool that Denver didn't get anything for him.
Yeah, definitely love to see that.
But that's pretty much all I got for this one. Got to wrap it up because I got to go to work, unfortunately. But
yeah, we're on a tight schedule today, but hope you enjoyed the podcast. Looking forward to seeing those throwback uniforms this weekend.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Oh yeah, baby.
I wore my throwback Hawks shirt in honor.
Unfortunately will not be able to get a throwback Provo jersey in time, but it will be here eventually. All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yep, we'll catch you on the next one.